Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the lesson. Hi to everyone that's here in class and online. Jonathan, I know you said hi before, Jimena and Yana. So good to see you all. I hope you all had a great weekend, especially with the weather warming up. A little bit of rain today, but it's still warm. So I hope you were able to do a few things, go out on the weekend. I know we had our Christmas. Hey, Yaneth, I know we had our Christmas excursion on Friday, so I hope you enjoyed that, the lights and the Christmas show and seeing family and friends and great decorations and things to buy and show. And yeah, so it was a very great day. I'm glad you all came, or most people came, and enjoyed it. So as I was saying, what are we doing in this lesson? We're going to be looking at journeys. So journey means when we go to a place, it's a journey. It could be a place in your city, or it could be overseas or interstate, but it's a journey. It's you're going to a place to see it, to explore it, to learn about the place, and to travel there, traveling by different ways that we travel to a place. So we're going to be looking at journeys. Now, with journeys, we're going to be talking about comparative adjectives. So when I speak about a place and I talk about it and I give information, I want to compare it to another place, or I just want to compare it. So it's called comparative adjectives. So we'll be doing comparative adjectives, and we'll be doing a bit of writing, looking at writing about a place. So we're going to look at our grammar, making sure our grammar is correct. And looking at the different ways that we can travel. So how do we get to a place? Is it by bus, by car, by plane? So we're looking at the ways that we travel, that we go to a place. Okay, so let's get started into our class. It's all about journey, places. So really exciting. Okay, so we are here in our textbook, and I can see in the image, there's a ladybug. So it's an insect, and the caption says, the long journey. So I know journey is a noun and long is an adjective. So I'm describing the noun. It's not just a journey, but this ladybug has a long journey because it has to move slowly along this plant. So that's a very long journey for the ladybug. Okay, let's look at some of these adjectives and see if we could say that this is what is for the image. We've got clean, cold, dangerous, difficult, dirty, easy, fast, hot, huge, long, safe, short, slow, and tiny. Now let's listen to an image. Let's listen to an audio which is about this image, and let's listen to which adjectives did we hear. So which of these words did we hear about the journey? Okay, so let's listen to the audio.
Track 66. Unit 7 Opener.
This photo is by Manoj Chowdhury. He took the photo of this tiny ladybird on a hot day in spring. The grass was very green, and he liked the differences in the colors and the sizes. The red ladybird has a long journey as it travels along the grass to a flower at the end. She's slow, and, to me, the journey looks very difficult for the ladybird.
Okay, so did we hear difficult? Yeah, it's a difficult journey. That means like it's not easy, it's very difficult. Did we hear hot? Yeah, it's a very hot journey. And long, yes, we know from the caption, it says it's a long journey. And is it a slow as well? It's a very slow journey. And tiny, the ladybug is tiny. That means small. Tiny, small. So let's look at the opposite words. If I say clean, what's the opposite of clean? Dirty. If I say cold, hot. If I say dangerous, what is it? Safe, safe. If I say difficult, easy, dirty, we know we've got clean, easy, from difficult, fast, slow, hot, cold, huge, tiny is the opposite. Remember tiny or huge. And long, short, safe, dangerous, short, for long, slow, fast, tiny, huge. Okay, so let's talk about your journey. When you go to work, is your journey to work, what adjectives can you use? Your journey to work or to school? For me, I'd say it's easy. It's a pretty easy journey. I don't live very far. It's very easy to drive to work. Yeah, so it's pretty easy. What words would you say for your journey? Is it difficult for anyone? No, because we're lucky we've got transport like bus and train. So it doesn't matter where you live, you'll take it, you'll be in the city. If we talk about the weather, we can use adjectives when we talk about the weather. The weather is beautiful. Today it's a little bit hot, right? A little bit rainy, but it was quite warm. It was warm, right? Not very hot, but warm. Yeah. And our city, Adelaide, we could say it's a small city. Adelaide is a pretty small city. It's a tiny city. It's yeah, it's a, you can say it's pretty busy. There's a lot of people moving and going. It's a small city, but pretty busy. Okay, good. So we're looking at adjectives to talk about our journeys. So let's go to the next page. We're looking at animal journeys. Okay, so animal journeys. So we're going to read an article, and it's going to have 3 different animals, and it's going to tell us about their journeys. So let's read together so we can practice pronunciation, and then we'll answer the questions. So the title is Animal Journeys. And we have a little bit of an introduction here. It says, every year, animals around the world go on long and difficult journeys called migrations. Okay, the saiga. Saiga antelopes live in Central Asia. In the spring, they walk to higher places for food. A male saiga can walk 35 kilometers a day, and it's faster than a female. The journey is more dangerous for a female saiga because she has her calf in the spring. Tree frogs have shorter journeys than other animals. But for small frogs, the journey isn't easier. In spring, it climbs 30 meters down a tree, lays its eggs in water, and then it climbs up the tree. For a tree frog, it's a very difficult journey Okay, and we have the turtle, the loggerhead turtles. Many turtles have longer journeys than other sea animals. For example, the loggerhead turtle leaves the beach as a baby and it swims around 14,000 kilometers. 15 years later, the female turtle returns to the same beach and lays eggs. Okay, so we have a male. This is a symbol for the male. I'll just zoom in. This is a symbol for the male. This is a symbol for the female. And a calf is a young of some animal. So it's like the baby of some animal, but only for some animals, not all animals. So if you have a cow, an elephant, or a saga, then the baby would be called a calf. If you have a cat, it's a kitten. If you have a dog, it's a puppy. So only for some animals, we call them calves because other animals have different names. Okay, so just the baby of the animal, that's what it means. Okay, let's look at some questions. So the saga, does it do 30 meters every year or 14,000 kilometers in 15 years or 35 kilometers per day? So I'll give you 2 minutes to read the article again for yourself and answer questions 1 about the saga, the tree frog, and the loggerhead turtle. How much is its journey? And answer number 3, when do they travel? Where do they travel to? And which adjective describes the journey? Remember adjectives, like what we looked, the words that we used before, long, short, hard, difficult. These words are called adjectives. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes to reread the article. Okay, so the saga, does it travel 30 meters every year, 14,000 kilometers in 15 years, or 35 kilometers per day? Yes, C. And the tree frog? Yep, so 30 meters. That's a 2A, 30 meters. And the loggerhead turtle? B, 14,000 kilometers in 15 years. Okay, and when do they travel? So the sagas is in spring. Now when? That means you got to give me a time. When does the turtle travel? Doesn't say. The turtle doesn't say. Sorry, for the turtle, when does it travel? As a baby. Yeah, so as a baby. When it's young, as a baby. And the frog, when does it travel? In spring. That's the time of the year, in spring. And where do they travel to? So the sagas travel to higher places. So maybe up in the hills or the mountains, higher places. The turtle didn't say. The frogs, where do they travel to? So where, we need to talk about a place. Into the water. Which adjectives describe the journey for the saga? Dangerous. And dangerous and fast? Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's the male is faster than the female. But in general, yeah, dangerous. And then for the male, fast. You got to say the male because it's only talking about that the male is faster. The turtles, longer.
Yeah.
It's a long journey for the turtles. And the frogs, it isn't easy. But it said it's very difficult. Yeah, so for the frogs, Their journey isn't easy. It's very difficult. Okay, so we can put two options there. Okay, good. So that's an article that we read about these animals and their journeys when they go from one place to another. Remember, migration. When we talk about animals and when they move, it's called migration. But you can say it for people as well. Like, you know, in 1950 and 1960 in Australia, there was a big migration of Italian people and Greek people from the world. Okay, so we're looking at comparative adjectives. So remember, when we have an adjective, we're talking about one noun. And the rule is, if we're talking about one noun, we put the adjective in front of the noun. So for example, you could say it's a red house, it's a big book, it's a beautiful home, it's an amazing day, it's a hard job. Okay, so adjective first and then the noun. So always describe it. If I'm talking about my job, talk about the words that describe it. Oh, it's a good job, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's you know, yeah. And then say the word. Or if you're talking about a home, say what you think of the home first. It's a beautiful, amazing, big, bright home. But when we want to compare, that's just if we talk about one adjective. So if you heard me in my examples, I spoke about one book. I spoke about one job. I was talking about my job. I spoke about the day. I spoke about one, one adjective. But when I want to compare, I'm going to compare more than one noun. So for example, maybe I want to compare one noun, A, maybe that's like a book, and I want to compare it to B, another book, someone else's book, maybe my book and someone else's book, or my car and someone else's car, or my house and someone else's house. So I'm comparing two people. That's when we use comparative adjectives. So I'm comparing now two things, not just one noun. I'm not just talking about one thing. I'm talking about two things. So what's the rule? If it's a short adjective like long, then I just need to add the ER and then put the word then. So if I put the first noun first, and then I describe it by putting the ER attached to the adjective, and then I talk about the second one. So for example, my course is longer than your course. So remember, the noun must be the same. They're two different nouns, but one is my noun, my course, and I'm talking about my friend's course, or my house, my friend's house, my car, my brother's car. So I'm talking about the same noun, but it's just different people. So we need to add the ER and then put the word then for the adjective. So you talk about the first noun, so it could be my job, my work, my book, my assignment, my bottle of water, my life, my trip. I could be talking about my trip compared to someone else's trip, whatever the noun is. Now, if you want to use an adjective that's a long adjective, that means it's not a short one like long, short, fun, big. It's a long adjective, maybe like the word beautiful. So, for example, beautiful, it's more than a few words. So this one has 4 letters. This one has more than 4 letters. So I need to say the first noun, whatever I'm talking about, and then put more. And then I need to just put the adjective just as it is, beautiful. I don't change it. And then I put then, and then I put the other noun. So for example, my home is more beautiful than your home. My trip is more beautiful than your trip. My weekend was more amazing than your weekend. Something like that. So remember, the same nouns, but two people. Two people for the noun, and if it's a short adjective or if it's a long adjective, that's what we need to remember to follow the rules. Now, be careful. There are some irregular words, like good is just the adjective. Remember, I can use it when I talk about the one noun. This book is good. This class is good. The day is good. My day is good. But when I talk about two nouns, I need to say better. My book is better than yours. Okay, so whenever I want to use the word good, but I'm comparing, I have to say better. I can't say my book is good, like good or more good than. No, it's better. It's just one word. It changes. It's irregular. It breaks the rule. So it has its own word. It's better. If you want to say the word bad, remember, if we're talking about one adjective, we can say that, you know, this car is bad. This, my trip was bad. So if I'm talking about one noun, I say the word bad. But when I come to comparing, I need to say the word worse. My day was worse than yours. My experience was worse than yours. Whatever. This movie is worse than that movie. Okay, so it becomes worse. So they're irregular. They break the rule. Okay, so let's look at some examples from our textbook. So it says, let's have a look. Turtles have long journeys. So that's only talking about one noun, journeys, and long. We said that turtles have long journey. But listen to this sentence. Turtles have longer journeys than tree frogs. Can you see how we're comparing two nouns? One is the turtle's journey, and the second one is the tree frog's journey. So I need to add ER to the adjective longer. Turtles have longer journeys than. Let's look at this sentence. Tree frogs have short journeys. That's one noun we're talking about. But if I say tree frogs have shorter journeys than sagas or turtles, I'm comparing the tree frog's journey to another animal. If I say the female saga's journey is difficult, that's fine. I'm only talking about one noun. But if I say I want to compare it, the female saga's journey is more difficult than the male's. Just some spelling. Big, you must put double ER, bigger. Safe, you must put double, just safer. Easy becomes easier. If it ends in a Y, just like our present perfect verbs, you take it off and you add IER. Irregular, good, better, bad, worse. Okay, so what two letters do you add to short adjectives to make the comparative? What two letters do you add? ER. Yep, ER. What word comes before long adjectives? Word. More. Yep. Which adjectives have an irregular comparative? Yeah. Good and bad. What word often comes after a comparative adjective to compare two things? Then. Yep. Hey. Oh, okay, good. You give to her? Okay, no worries. Thank you. And I see you, you're going to go next level. Good luck. Oh, okay, no worries. Good to see you. Bye. Bye. Okay, let's write the comparative of these adjectives. So remember, we can use these adjectives when we talk about one noun. You know, this house is big, or this building is big, this cafe is small, this top is cheap, this book is expensive. That's fine. But I want to compare it to another noun. So big becomes bigger. We double the ER. Small, smaller, cheap, cheaper, expensive. It's a long adjective, so more expensive than. We don't need to change the word, add anything to the long adjective. We just need to add more before it and then after it. Cold, it's a short adjective. Colder, yep. So you could say like today was colder than yesterday. I'm comparing 2 days. Hot, hotter. Again, today is hotter than yesterday. Dangerous, it's a long adjective. More dangerous than. And safe, safer. Be careful, there's no double F. Difficult, more difficult than, long adjective. Easy, easier. It ends in a Y, so you need to add, take off the Y and add IER. Fast, faster. Slow, slower. Better, better. I mean, yes, good, better. Bad, worse. Long, longer. Short, shorter. Okay. Okay, so let's complete the sentences with the comparative form. That just means the comparative word of these adjectives. So remember, we've got the adjective just by how it is normal is big, cheap, difficult, fast, good, hot, long, safe. So let's look at these sentences. The summer in Spain is hotter than in Iceland. So I'm comparing 2 countries, Spain and Iceland. The summer, the noun that I'm using is summer, and I'm comparing 2 summer in 2 different places. So it's hotter in Spain than in Iceland. My journey was longer than normal because the train was late. Their new house has 3 bedrooms. It's bigger than their old house. It had 2. When I was a child, the roads were safer than the roads today. That's because there weren't many cars. Call a taxi. It's faster than walking. The questions on the exam this year were more difficult than last year. Last year, the exam was easy. So you can see how they're switching from comparing, and then they talked about one noun last year. The exam, that's the noun they're talking about, just for one comparing. Last year, it was easy. So they don't need to change easy. The bus ticket is $10 and the train ticket is $12. So the bus is cheaper. I go to work by bus. It's better than going by car because I can read a book. Okay, so let's make some more sentences. We're going to make full sentences. So the first one, they did it for us. Australia is hotter than Antarctica. So hot is the adjective. Yes, they come. Okay, the first one, they did it for us. Australia is hotter than Antarctica. 2 places. I'm comparing Australia to Antarctica. So Australia is hotter. I'm using one adjective, hot, but because I'm comparing one place where it's hot to another place, so I say hotter. Number 2, what sentence could we make? A car and a bicycle. What adjective can you pick to compare a car and a bicycle? Yeah, a car is faster than a bicycle. A car is, we can use a long adjective, is more expensive than a bicycle. A car is bigger than a bicycle. Yeah, it's all comparing. What about two sports, rock climbing and surfing? What adjective can you think to compare? Rock climbing is less difficult than surfing. Less climbing is dangerous than surfing. Rock climbing, if you want, is safer than surfing. Okay, how about how we travel? We can travel by air or by sea. So traveling by air is faster, safer, more expensive than by sea. So you got many adjectives that you want to pick: faster, safer, which are short adjectives, or the long one, more expensive. An elephant and a lion. What adjective can we pick? An elephant is bigger than a lion. Thank you. An elephant is slower than a lion. An elephant is stronger, maybe, than a lion. Less dangerous, long adjective, than a lion. Hey guys. Yeah. How about a holiday in the city and camping in the mountain, the countryside? Maybe a holiday in the city is more interesting than camping. Maybe a holiday in the city is more expensive than. Okay, how about two different cities? Paris and New York. Paris is, so always start with the noun, one of the noun first. Paris is nearer to Australia than New York. So I'm using the adjective near, which means like close. And I'm saying that Paris is more close to Australia than New York. It's nearer. That's just another word for more close. If you want, you could use a long adjective, beautiful. So because we're comparing, Paris is more beautiful than New York. And train journeys and plane journeys. Maybe plane journeys are longer. Depends. Are cheaper? Maybe cheaper. Yeah, than plane journeys. Maybe more interesting because you get to see nice views. You know, train journeys are more interesting. Are better, if you want to give your opinion, are better than plane journeys. Okay, so now we know how to compare. So if you just joined us, we're looking at talking about adjectives and journeys and being able to compare one noun to another noun. So let's listen to a bit of pronunciation. Usually you have to put a stress. A stress just means like where you push your voice. So you push it on the first noun. So Africa is hotter than Europe. Can you see how I pushed my voice in the beginning of these noun and the beginning of the adjective? So Africa is hotter than Europe. We could do it for Australia. Now, because Australia is a long word, it's usually in the middle where you need to push your voice. So it's Australia isn't, now this is an adjective, colder. So I push in the beginning, colder. Then I need to push the middle, Antarctica. So can you hear it? How I'm pushing the middle here, how I'm pushing the beginning of cold. So Australia isn't colder than Antarctica. So that's how my voice, the tone, how it must sound. Okay, so we have a fact and an opinion. Now, a fact means it's true information. You cannot change it. Like, for example, Colombia is in South America. That's just a fact. It's in Latin America. Australia is a country and a continent. That's a fact. Everybody agrees. It's true information. So when I have a fact, it's a true information. But when I have an opinion, it means I'm telling you just what I feel. So an opinion is more just your feeling, your belief, your thoughts, your ideas, your what do you support? What do you suppose? Like that just means what do you think? What do you guess? Okay, so there's the difference between a fact and an opinion. A fact is the same as saying it's truth, it's real information. So for example, Antarctica is colder than Australia. That's a fact. It's not someone's opinion. It's everybody agrees. Antarctica is colder than Australia. So you see how we can use adjectives to talk about a fact, to tell people what is true information. That we used an adjective, cold, and we compared one place of the cold to another place of its cold. How about this one? Rock climbing is more dangerous than surfing. Do you think that's a fact or someone's opinion? It's an opinion because not everybody agrees. Maybe someone else will say, no, I think surfing is more dangerous than rock climbing. So it's just an opinion. Okay, so the first one is a fact. The second sentence is an opinion. So you know the difference between a fact and an opinion. And we use adjectives to make a sentence, a statement with a fact or an opinion. So if we go back to the previous sentence in 7, which are opinions and which are fact? So Australia, we had Australia is hotter than Antarctica. For real down. Tomorrow? Okay. Okay, yes, and I'll mark it. Oh, yes. I can mark it and upload. Maybe I might not have access to upload it, but I'll see if I can upload with my. Oh, send you email. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, is that a fact or an opinion? Australia is hotter than Antarctica. It's a fact. That's true information. A car, what did we say? A car is more expensive than a bicycle. Yeah, it's pretty true. Yeah. Sometimes you can buy cheap cars. I mean, I don't think some bicycles are very expensive, like in $1,000, but you know, but it's generally a fact. It's more of a true than not true. Rock climbing is less difficult than surfing. It's an opinion. Maybe someone else, disagrees. Traveling by air is faster than by sea. Traveling by air is safer than by sea. Depends. Yeah, depends what adjective. If you say safer, it could be an opinion. We don't really know which is true. Faster depends the distance. I mean, it really is faster. If you think of the same location to the same location, it is faster. So that's a fact. An elephant is bigger, slower, stronger, dangerous than a lion. That's a fact. Yeah, it definitely is bigger, slower, stronger, less dangerous. A holiday in the city is more interesting than, yeah, not everybody agrees. Someone else says, no, I love the country. I think there's more interesting things to do in the country. There's more activities. Paris is nearer to Australia than New York. Fact, true information. Paris is more beautiful than New York. Opinion. Someone else will say, no, I think New York is more amazing. It's more things to do. It's whatever. That's their opinion. And train journeys are cheaper than plane journeys. Generally, they are cheaper. Yeah. Usually, if you're taking a train journey, it's in your own country. It's short distance. So yeah, they're cheaper. Okay, so we know the difference between a fact and an opinion. Let's practice writing some of them ourselves. So you need to pick one of them. You can either talk about a place. So you could say your own town in whatever in is Cartagena in Colombia? Yeah, you could say Cartagena is more beautiful than another city. Whatever. Than Bogota. You can compare and that's a fact. And in my opinion, that's a fact. Sports, you can compare two different activities. Like, for example, I think swimming, this is an opinion, is more interesting, is more easier, is more better than walking. You can compare two different types of traveling, maybe by bus or by train, by car or by boat, by whatever. Remember, pick an adjective. Types of holidays. Camping is more interesting than staying in a hotel. Places in the city. The Botanic Gardens is more amazing than just a normal park, because in the Botanic Gardens, there's more different types of trees and plants this church is more busier than that church, whatever. So remember places in a city, places like churches, libraries, whatever. Types of transports, we talked about that. Famous people. Shakira is a better dancer than someone else. So you can compare two different famous people. Okay, so just write one sentence, just of one of them. Pick one to write your example. I'll give you 2 minutes and we'll come back and have a look. And online, you can just write it in the chat box. So here are some examples. The Edward Crossing Bridge is smaller than the Golden Gate Bridge. So one was in the USA. I'm not sure where the other one is, but they wanted to say that it is smaller. That's a fact. I prefer soccer than golf. Australia is more expensive than Brazil. Traveling by bus is way cheaper than traveling by a plane. So you can add the word way when you want to push what you're saying more. Like, oh my God, it's way cheaper. It's way more expensive. It's whatever. I think it's better to go to the park than to stay at home. So when you give your opinion, you can use words in the beginning like I think, I believe, in my opinion. That's someone's opinion. For me, train journeys are better than plane journeys. A holiday with friends is more fun than a holiday by yourself. That's someone's opinion. Lebanese food seasoning is tastier than the seasoning that go into Korean and Japanese food. Okay, so that was just some examples. Hopefully you have your sentences. You're just writing one sentence. So Franco says, and I totally 100% on this one. So let's see if we agree or disagree. So first of all, is it a fact or an opinion? How do I pronounce his name? Lionel? Lionel. Lionel Messi is way better than Diego Maradona. It's an opinion. Yeah, Franco says it's a fact. We don't know. Maybe if there's been some research, people have actually seen, no, Messi was more better. Maybe that is a fact because they've looked at all the past histories of them. It could be a fact as well. So it's a strong fact. I like that. It's not just a fact, it's a strong, strong fact. So that's a good sentence. So Franco was comparing, he used one adjective, better, which comes from good, and he's comparing two different people, the good for two different people. He said Lionel Messi is way better, and he used way, which, as I said, way is pushing it more stronger to show not just Lionel Messi is better, but Lionel Messi is way better. So when you say way, you have to even push your voice when you use that word because you're showing like, oh my God, he is way better than Diego Maradona. So your voice needs to also push that word. Okay? Because it's not just the word that's pushing the sentence, the part of what you want to say, but it's also your voice that needs to push that word. That's a word that pushes, it's a good word, but you need to push it in your voice. Good. So what did we have? Jonathan 2. Sorry, Sebastian 2. Sorry. Australia is very expensive. You didn't compare it. You're just talking about one now. Compared to Indonesia? Yeah. Yeah, to Bali. Is that a fact or an opinion? It's very, I think it's a fact. I think it's a fact. I think Australia is very expensive compared to Bali. I think that's a fact. Again, you can find cheap places to live in Australia and expensive places to live in Bali, but generally it's a fact. It's more of a fact than an opinion. Only if Sebastian said Australia is more beautiful compared to Bali, then that's his opinion. Okay, so yes, what's Oscar, what's your sentence? Yeah, Colombia has more people than Australia. What's the population of Colombia? Oh, wow, 6 million. So definitely, yeah, that's a fact. So Colombia has more people than Colombia. So the noun was people, and more than. Yeah. Juanita.
Cali is more older than Bucaramanga.
Is that a place?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, that's a fact, right? So a certain place. I like that. You picked a city. Sorry, were they two different cities? Yeah. This city is more older than this city. Yep. Brian.
Basketball is more difficult than football.
Yeah, basketball is more difficult than football. Is that a fact or opinion? It's an opinion because not everybody agrees, but that's a good sentence. Yeah. Anna. Ecuador is smaller than Colombia. Perfect. That's a fact. Ecuador is smaller than Colombia. Perfect. That's a fact. And we used the adjective small, but to compare one place to another place is smaller than. Adelaide, Australia is more beautiful than Sao Paulo, Brazil. Ah, that's a nice sentence. Is that a fact or an opinion? Maybe it's an opinion. Are you from Sao Paulo? You're from Sao Paulo. Yeah. So that's an opinion because not everyone agrees, but it's a good sentence. So Australia, Adelaide. Now we don't put that dash, we put a comma. Remember there's a comma when you put city, comma, country. So Adelaide, Australia is more beautiful than Sao Paulo, Brazil. So that's grammar, that's how we write with proper punctuation. Remember punctuation, full stop, comma. So anytime you have a city, comma, and then the country. Victor has a long sentence. Clayton says fact. I think the cost of living, so I think the cost of living in Australia is more expensive than Brazil. Yeah. I think you put a full stop. I don't know why you put the wrong punctuation, so we need to put full stop. So I think the cost of living in Australia is more expensive than Brazil. That's a fact, in my opinion. So that's good, because when we speak, we can say a fact and then give an opinion and say another fact, opinion, whatever. You can change and use many different ones. In my opinion, soccer is more interesting than rugby. That's an opinion, but we can say, I agree, right? If we agree. I think Adelaide is more beautiful than my town. Okay, so that's his personal opinion. So that's what Victor thinks. That's his personal opinion. I think Australian currency is more valuable than Brazilian one. Yeah, than the. Sorry. So yes, good sentences. I'll send them back to you. Anyone else? Adriano? Yeah, is it by land size? Yeah, okay. So Brazil, by its land size, is more bigger than Australia. That's a fact, right? True information. Anyone else online? Thank you. Thanks, Victor. Anyone online would like to say their sentence? You're comparing something. Okay, let's have a look at the next part. We're looking at another type of comparative. So this, remember, was called the comparative adjective. It was when we were comparing two different nouns. Two. One and then another. It's called the comparative adjectives. Automatic car is better than a mechanic car. You mean, so I need to put an automatic car is better than a manual. So we say than a manual. Yeah. An automatic car is better than a manual. So is that a fact or an opinion? It's an opinion, because some people maybe like what manual. I agree with this. An automatic car is better because you can eat, drink, you know. You don't have to like change the gears and, you know, always be thinking of that. So, sorry, but it's his opinion. Yeah, so we say manual. So automatic. Now the other one is called a manual. And you don't need to repeat the noun car. You can just say an automatic car is better than a manual. Or an automatic car is better than a manual car. You don't really need to repeat the noun. But good sentence. Good opinion sentence. Okay, so comparative adjective. The next one is another type of comparing. So we're still comparing, but it's a different type of comparing. Let's just have a look at the title first. It's called The Deepest Place on Earth. Now, if we notice, deep is an adjective, but it doesn't have an ER. It's not deeper, like my swimming pool is deeper than your swimming pool. Deep just means like how far to the ground. So it's a different type of comparing. I can see it's an adjective, but we're not adding an ER. Why? So let's learn why. So the title is The Deepest Place on Earth. Noun, earth is a noun, place is a noun. So we've got here, this fish has the biggest teeth of any fish for its size. I can see an adjective, big, but why didn't I say bigger with the ER? Bigger than. Remember, bigger than? I'm still comparing, because I'm not talking about one fish. This fish has big teeth, because that's when I'm only talking about one noun. I say this fish has big teeth. this fish has bigger teeth than this fish. But now I'm saying this fish has the biggest. There's an EST, not ER. The biggest teeth of any fish for its size. So why did I now do that? Why did I use EST? I'll talk about the rule in a minute. Let's just do some exercise, but just notice that. First of all, let's talk about ways of traveling. So remember, ways of traveling, how do we get from one place to another? We need to use this word by. So if I said to you, how did you get here? I got here by car. You can make it a future sentence. How are we going to get to the beach on Sunday? How are we going to go to the beach on Sunday? Like, how are we going to get there? Well, we can go by car. We can take Maria's car. We can go by car. So we can talk about different ways of traveling with verbs like walk, cycle. We know that's on a bike, drive, fly, etc. We can also use collocations. That means when we add a verb and a noun to talk about something. And that's when we say we go by bicycle, we go by train, we go by car. We could say we travel by train, we travel by bus, we travel by boat. So you can see there's a verb and then there's a transport noun and it's by. But there's also take a taxi. You can take a bus or you can take a train somewhere. So let's try and pick the correct words in these sentences. So if I said, I always something a taxi, what do? Do I always, I always take a taxi. When I go out with friends in the evening, we take a taxi. We don't drive a taxi unless you're the owner and the driver of the taxi. So yes, take a taxi. So we need to put take. When my family goes on holiday, remember we say holiday in Australia, Americans say vacation. We always go by car. How did you travel to Moscow? It'd be strange to ask someone, how did you fly to Moscow? Because then you're assuming that they do that action. Then you're saying like that they can fly, which we cannot do. So how did you travel to Moscow? I can only use fly if I'm talking about different airlines. Like which airline did you fly with? Did you take Emirates? Did you take whatever the name of the airline is called? By train or by plane? Most people go by bicycle into the city center on the weekend. Remember, we say on in Australia, not at, on the weekend, because the roads are quiet. When it's raining, I normally travel to work on the train. Because you're going to a place somewhere to. I travel to. Let's travel or let's take. Let's take the bus to the city center. Now, if you want, actually, this sentence could work, but you don't say the. You could say, let's travel by bus to the city center. That could work, but you don't say the. So in this sentence, let's take the bus. Let's take the car. Let's take your car. Let's take my car. I mean, you can change the subject. Okay, just with the person next to you, you're going to ask these questions. how do you normally travel to work or school? Remember, normally, like in general, like what's the most way that you travel? How do you normally travel when you go on holidays? What's your favorite way to travel and why? Take notice of the Australian spelling for. So for me, how do you normally travel to work? Someone can say by foot if they live very close by, or by plane. Sorry, not for how do you normally travel to work. By car, by bus. How do you normally travel when you go on holidays? I think a lot of us take the plane, by plane. What's your favorite way to travel? By car, it depends. By plane, so I like plane trips sometimes. Okay. Yes, how many hours, and if you have many stopovers and layovers, yes. Okay, so you've answered those questions, had a quick chat with someone next to you or thought about it in your mind. Education in Australia is more expensive than in Colombia. That's probably a fact. Yes, I think, yeah. Yeah, I can imagine more expensive. So good comparing education in one place to another place, one country to another country. Okay, let's listen. We're going to look at the photo of the filmmaker James Cameron. Do you guys know who James Cameron is? Very famous movie director, producer, Titanic. He's known for, so he is known for Titanic. Known means like that's the movie that everybody knows a lot of. So this is James Cameron. He's a Canadian filmmaker. Now he also did a documentary that we're going to listen to. It's a submarine. So a submarine, that's a submarine. It goes in the water. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know this one? So this is a submarine, okay? It goes all the way down in the water. I would love to one day, I wish, right? It'd be nice to go on one of these. Amazing. Okay, so it's travels deep, deep down into the water. Okay, that's called a submarine. A submarine. Okay, so this is a submarine. Now, James Cameron did a documentary. So remember, documentary is like a movie, but it's a short movie and it's more like facts. It's a documentary, right? It's giving you information, facts. It's not a made up story. It's a documentary. So this is James Cameron. This is the submarine. He did a documentary. Let's look at the photo and listen to a documentary about his journey to the deepest place on Earth. Okay, so the submarine was called Deep Sea Challenger. That's the name of that submarine. So let's answer some questions. What was the place? The distance to the bottom? The length of the journey? How long? The type of transport? Remember, was it by car, by bus? We know by submarine. The sea life on the journey. What type of sea life? And the number of new species. Species mean when you have an animal, it just means like the type of animal. So species, yeah, the type or group of animal. And as I said, a documentary is a film about real life. Okay, so let's listen and answer questions 3. Yeah, answer questions 3.
Track 69, Unit 7B. James Cameron is a Hollywood film director, and he is famous for lots of different films. Titanic is the most popular film by James Cameron, and Avatar was the most expensive. But he also makes documentaries. Deep Sea Challenge is a documentary about his journey into the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is the deepest place in the oceans. It's 11 kilometers under the sea, and the journey to the bottom took over 2 hours. Cameron traveled in a one-man submarine with special lights because the Mariana Trench is also the darkest place on Earth. Cameron filmed many new and strange kinds of sea life on his journey, including fish like the fangtooth. The fangtooth has the biggest teeth of any fish for its size. When Cameron landed on the bottom of the Mariana Trench, he also found 68 new species of the smallest animals on Earth.
Okay, so we just heard the documentary. Let's answer the questions. So the place was the Mariana Trench. The distance to the bottom, what did you hear? 11 kilometers. Yeah, so you can write km, 11 kilometers. The length of journey, 2 hours. Okay, so that's how long it took, 2 hours. Okay, and the type of transport. So what did they use to travel? The submarine. Yeah, so we know that. In fact, it was a one-man submarine. So that means only one person could go inside. A one-man submarine or a submarine, doesn't matter. The sea life on the journey, what type of fish? Yeah, a fang-tooth fish. So that's a type of fish. So let's have a look at it. A fang-tooth fish. Okay, so this fish is the one that they were looking at. Fang. Fang is like the type of tooth. It's a fang, you know, like very sharp fang. Fang-tooth fish. And the number of new species, the number of new types of that group, 68. Good. So very good listening about that documentary. Okay. So if you remember, I said that we had, let's go back to the rules now. I said that when we have one noun, we just use the adjective. Big, long, short, tall, whatever. But when we have two adjectives, it's called the comparative adjectives. We need to know if it's a short or a long word and then use ER then, or if it's a long adjective like beautiful, amazing, then it's more adjective than. Okay, they're just it's like long words. That's all it means. Yes. So can someone please go down to open the door? Who would like to go? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the long, another type of comparing is called the superlative adjective. Now, this is the one when we were saying deepest. when I said the EST. So it's comparing a to many. It's not just comparing one noun to another noun, but you're just comparing one noun to many. Like, for example, I'm just making this up. Australia is the best country in the world. This job is the greatest job I've ever had. This is the best laptop in the whole world. So I'm not just comparing one noun to another noun, but I'm just one noun, but to everything. So again, it's got some rules. If it's a short adjective, a short word, that's all it means, just a short word, then I need to add the and then add EST to the adjective. And then I can put words like in the world, in the ocean, in the whole classroom. So for example, you know, this is the smallest phone in the world. This is the biggest house in the world. Now, if it's a long adjective, it just means a long word like beautiful, amazing. Then we say the most adjective. This is the most amazing country in the world. This is the most amazing experience in my life. This is the most beautiful day ever. This is the most famous person in Colombia. So you can see I'm talking about one noun, but comparing it to many. And again, we do have irregulars. So if I want to say good, I want to talk about the noun that it's good, I need to say best. Like this is the best classroom in the world. If it's the word bad, hey Shirley. If it's the word bad, then I need to say the worst. This is the worst phone ever. Thank you. This is the worst trip ever. This is the worst experience. This is the worst whatever. So let's look at some examples. So we use the superlative adjective to compare one thing with all the other things in the group. The Mariana Trench is the deepest place in the oceans. I'm talking about many oceans. This Mariana Trench is the deepest place in all the oceans. This fish has the biggest teeth. Has the biggest teeth of any fish, of all the other fishes, of all the other fish. So biggest, I need to add EST. It's a short adjective. The biggest teeth, the deepest place. Titanic is the most popular film by James Cameron. I'm talking about all his films. This is the most popular. It's a long adjective, popular. So I need to go to the long rule, the most popular, the most beautiful, the most amazing. If you're a guy, you could say, this is the most amazing girl I've ever met. It means compared to all the girls. Remember, not comparing one to another, but to all the girls. She's the most amazing girl in the world. Avatar was the most expensive film compared to all the other films. It was the most expensive. That's a long adjective. And big means double the G, biggest. Easy, it ends in a Y, so I-E-S-T. And we do have some irregular. Good is best. You know, this is the best classroom in the world. This is the worst book ever. This is the worst movie. So what three letters do you add to short adjectives? EST. What word comes before long adjectives? The most. The most. Because what word comes before long adjective? The most. And what word usually comes before a superlative adjective? What one word is the same? For if it's short or long, what's the same word? The. Yep. Yep. So you have to say the. Okay, let's do the next part. So if I have long, we know in the comparative, when I'm comparing one noun to another, it's longer. What is it in the superlative? When I'm saying this is the longest trip? The longest. So the longest, yeah. The longest, yeah. And short, shorter, or shortest. He's the shortest man in the world, for example. Fast is faster or fastest. This is the fastest car in the world. Lamborghini, Ferrari is the fastest car in the world. Slow, slower, or slowest. And it's like saying she's the most slowest walker. She's the slowest person in the world. Expensive is more expensive when I compare two things. But when I compare one to many, it's the most expensive. This is the most expensive jewelry in the world. Difficult, more difficult, or most difficult. This is the most difficult book, the most difficult course in my life. This is the most difficult relationship of my life, maybe. You want to talk about that? Good, bad, or best. It's an irregular. So it changes, one word changes if I compare two nouns, or it changes when I compare one to many. She's the best person in the world. She's the best teacher in the world. She's the best person. My mum is the best person in the world. So I need to say best because I'm comparing her not to someone else, but to many, to everyone. Okay, let's have a break. And when we come back, we'll do more of this comparing and we'll do more exercises. The fanged tooth is the ugliest fish I know. Yes, I would say we don't really know. Know is more when you know people. So I would say the fanged tooth is the ugliest fish I have ever seen. So it's the ugliest tooth. The fanged tooth is the ugliest fish I have ever seen. Yep. So remember, know is more to know people. We use the verb to know when you know someone. It's more common to say that, yeah, I know him. He's my sister's friend. Yeah, I know that book. I know that person. Sorry, you don't know a book. If you know something as well, but it's only when you reply that way. Yeah, I know it. Do you know that movie? Yeah, I know that movie. It's more we use it in that way. Okay, so let's have a break. We come back. Okay, we'll do more after the break. Okay, so let's keep continuing. So we're going to read this paragraph and use the superlative or, no, just the superlative. So remember, it's the EST. It's comparing one noun, not just to one thing, but to many things. So make sure you add the EST. Remember, if it's a long adjective, short adjective, and the irregulars. Don't forget the rules to which adjective. So let's read it together. We'll do it together at the same time. So New Year, so that's the first day of the year, is the most important holiday in China. And so it's saying the most important holiday compared to all the other holidays, compared to Christmas and whatever, and Easter and whatever other holidays in China, the autumn, winter, whatever other holiday they have. So New Year is the most important. And around 3.5 billion people leave the biggest cities in China. So remember, many of them, they leave the biggest cities in China to travel home to their families. So it's the busiest, biz-e-est. So the I is pronounced by itself, biz-e-est. No, biz-e-est. The busiest time of the year for transport. So it's the busiest. That means compared to every other day, this day, compared to all, is the busiest time for transport. Many university students go by train, and it's also the worst time. That's the irregular for bad. It's the worst time of the year for driving on the roads. Some people go by plane because it's the fastest way to get home compared to all the other way. But it's also the most expensive because lots of tourists fly into the country at New Year. They visit the most popular places in China, such as the Great Wall. With so many people traveling in China at this time, it's the largest human migration in the world. That means the people come to this place. It's the largest human migration, not animal migration, but human migration. Okay, good. Let's do some more exercises. And now we're going to look at a conversation and maybe at the comparative or maybe the superlative. So you need to know the difference between the two, the comparative or the superlative. So there's a conversation and we have to add these adjectives. Remember, these adjectives are just the way they are by themselves. Beautiful, cheap, famous, good, hot, popular, small. So person A says, I want to visit Ireland in July, but I only have 10 days. What are the best places to visit? Well, Dublin is the most famous city in Ireland. That means compared to many of them, this is the most famous. And of course, it's also the most popular. Yeah, and it's also the most popular with tourists. But I don't want to see lots of other tourists. What's the most beautiful city? So it's using the most is from the superlative. So it's saying compared to many. Which one is the most beautiful city compared to many of them? I'm not comparing two different nouns. I'm just saying compared to many. Which one, what's the most beautiful city? In my opinion, so we know it's different to a fact. This is somebody saying what they think, what they feel. In my opinion, it's Galway. The city is smaller. Now we're comparing two places, Galway with Dublin. So I need to use the comparative, the ER. It is smaller than Dublin. You remember the first comparative, the ER? ER then, smaller than. But it's next to the sea. So there are great views. How cold is it? July is the hottest. So he's comparing many months. He's saying of all the months, July is the hottest. So it's okay. What about transport? What's the best way to travel? Buses are the cheapest. So he's comparing he's comparing buses to something else. So he's using, he's comparing the buses to many. Buses are the cheapest. He didn't say buses are cheaper than cars. He said compared to many, buses are the cheapest. Then, but I think a car is better than public transport when you are a tourist. With a car, you can stop and see lots of different places on the way. Okay, so now we're going to get into groups and we're going to create a conversation together in our groups. So think about your country or this, but I'm going to give you a country. So you're going to talk about the most famous city, the oldest city, the most beautiful place for tourists, the best place to visit, the hottest month, the coldest month, the cheapest way to travel. So that's what we'll do in a group. Sorry, that's not the conversation. That's going to be a presentation. So you're going to talk and show us about a country, and I'm going to give you which country. So let's get into groups. I'm going to give you a country, and you're going to write some things about this city, this country, compare it to somewhere else, talk about all these points. Okay, we'll come back and we'll watch it together, and we'll look at the grammar. So we were talking about journeys, and we were talking about going to a place, and I told you to write, and I gave you a country. So I gave Shirley, Adriano, and someone online. Who was your team? And Janet and Janet. So they went to Portugal. They're going to tell us about Portugal. So let's listen to their presentation. Remember, it's casual language presentation, and it's stating maybe facts, maybe opinions as well, and using comparative, comparing something to another place or something. So not just giving information, but we want to try and compare it. I don't think I actually see any comparing in this one. Oh no, one of the most. Okay, there is some comparing. So try and listen to the comparing. Is she comparing Portugal to another place or in the whole world or different cities or different places in Portugal? Take a listen. So beautiful Portugal. This is an image. And okay, so let's listen. So Adriano and Shirley.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Portugal. Portugal has some of the most stunning coastal lines. Profoundly rich historical history, amazing wines, great flamenco music, and some of the most delicious seafood cuisine.
Lisbon is the capital of Portugal and is also the most popular city among tourists. It is known for its blend of history, charm, driven culture, and breathtaking. What? Breathtaking. This makes it is one of the most. This makes one of the most alluring cities in Portugal.
Yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Before you talk about city, maybe you talk about Portugal and then be more specific. That's why I changed. Yeah. They're beautiful. So I only see one comparative. They said, sorry, but this makes Portugal or Lisbon. Sorry, what's the capital? Lisbon? Yeah, Lisbon.
Yeah.
One of the most. Say of all the cities, this is one of the most alluring. Seems like I have to be Portugal. Portugal. I think yeah. Maybe I forgot to tell you. Try and use comparatives. Okay, Venezuela. It's a little bit short. But it's got good comparative. Do you want to do it? Yeah? Okay, Venezuela. So we're in Latin America. We're with Juanita, Edward, and we're going to Venezuela. So let's listen to their presentation and about this country. And Franco. Yes, okay.
I'm here.
Hi guys, we are going to tell you about Venezuela.
Venezuela is the cheapest one in Latin America. It has the default in the world, and it is the cheapest country in Latin America.
In the 60s, Venezuela was known as the happiest country in the world.
And has more oil reserves than other countries. Okay. Thank you. Lots of comparisons today. What do you see? What are the comparisons that we see? They said it's the highest waterfall in the world. It would have been nice if you added the name. You know, like sometimes when you give information, it's nice to say, you know, which is, you know, in the north part or the, like, it would be nice to give a bit more detail. And you said that it's the cheapest country. So she's comparing to all the other countries. This one is the cheapest compared to all. So that's the EST, comparing it to many. And Venezuela has more oil reserves than other countries. Again, good comparison. And in the 60s, Venezuela, that should be a comma. In the 60s, I didn't know this. Venezuela was known. That means people knew that Venezuela was the happiest country in the world. So again, we have the adjective happy. Now we take off the Y and we add IEST to say, because we're comparing it to many countries, not just Venezuela is the happiest country compared to Colombia. It's the happiest in the whole world. So really good comparison. Thank you. So we are in Romania. Next country, we are in Romania. So again, let's listen to the comparative here. And beautiful picture of Romania. Okay, so I'll just go to this one. Okay, so they're going to tell us.
Everyone, let's talk about Romania. Romania is the home of the movies. They have one of the largest hot water park in Europa. You hear? Europe, and is home to one of the narrowest street in Europe. It has some of the most incredible castles in the world. Romania has the cheapest public transport and the largest Gothic church in Europe. In its capital, Bucharest. What is the name? What is the pronunciation? You can find the highest building in the world. Yeah. Most incredible, just one. Largest, cheapest, heaviest.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a very good example of using our comparatives, both of them, the comparative adjective, and the superlative adjective. So that's a very good example of both. Sorry, actually it's only the superlative. Sorry, there's only the EST. This is a good example of just the EST. So they were really comparing it to the world. They didn't compare one place to another place. They used the superlative, which is the EST, to say in the world, as the largest hot water in Europe. It has the most incredible castles in the world. So really good. Okay, I think the last one will be Brian's team, and we're going to Hungary. Really interesting country. So I wonder how many information. Now this one is actually perfect because you answered all the questions in the book. So this is actually done very perfectly. So let's listen. Let's go to Hungary. It's a country in Europe, and see what are is it comparative, superlative? Listen to the adjectives. Listen to the comparing. Okay, so let's listen. We've got Brian and
Guys, we are talking about the Hungary, the country Hungary. The most famous city in Hungary is Budapest, which is known for its stunning architecture.
Was founded in 45 AD. One of the most beautiful places in in Hungary is like Balaton. Located 80 kilometers of Budapest.
Balaton Lake is known to be the largest lake in Europe. The best place to visit in Europe is York, where you will find a few hundred units that are considered monuments. You can also walk through the charming old town.
The month of January is the coldest month in the country. So it can go as low as 1 point minus 1.6 is quite light, while the hotel has average of 1 degree Celsius.
can we see the comparative? Let's have a look. And superlative, the oldest city. Thank you. The oldest city in Hungary. Remember, compared to many of the cities, this is the oldest one. The most beautiful places. The largest lake in all of Europe, the EST. And the coldest month. See you tomorrow. So really good. Okay, I think that was everyone. So thank you for sharing. Again, tell us about a country you know well. Now, I know you didn't know these countries, but I just gave you countries so that you could learn. And especially when you talk about the country, you want to be comparing it, to other countries. So people can get an idea, oh, what's different about this country, So that's why we compare. So really good. So that was doing a lot of our adjectives in both the comparative and the superlatives. So make sure you know the two difference. Next lesson, we are going to be sorry, I don't know what happened. We are going to be in Colombia. Okay, we're going to visit Colombia. We're going to talk about some cities: Cartagena, Medellin, Cali, and Ciudad Perdida. How's my pronunciation?
Yes.
Yes, it's good.
It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. I've been practicing. Cartagena. Yes. Cartagena. Okay, good. So we're going to be going to Colombia, talking about these cities, writing more, travel money. We're going to look at, when we do go to another country, what are some words that we need to use when we talk about money and currency and ATM machine and all these words. Okay, so more journey. We're going to be talking about more journey, doing more writing and looking at more grammar. So see you all next lesson. Bye.
Teacher, so
Franco,
Franco,
yes?
no, I was doing the exam today, but I can't do it. Can I do it tomorrow?
Yes, exactly. You must do it tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
No worries. Very welcome. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.